You were going to also,
yes.
before you start, you're also going to do wanted to do a show at some stage on the irrigation in the Murray-Darling Basin system too, as well, didn't you? On farmers, was it?
I wanted to talk about. Hang on a second. We're live. Give me a second.
Okay, are you right?
Oh, it's not. Hang on. Put it on. Sorry, awkward. All right, here I am. Hey guys, I am back. This is my first interview for 2020, and I've got someone extremely relevant to interview today. You are Clem Wheatley, and you are the president of the Shooter and Fishers and Farmers Party, and you were formerly a trainer for the RFS station, and you were a former captain of the fire brigade as well. Is that all correct information?
Queensland State Chairman, Shooters, Fishers, Farmers Party.
Sorry, okay.
And I suppose a lifetime involved with agriculture on the land. Former ranger with the forestry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, former group captain with the Rural Fire Service and training officer.
Well, I'm very glad I managed to get you on, because I had a different guest lined up, and that is now being pushed to next week, and it was very last minute to get you, but you're here and I'm extremely excited to have you. So I think we should begin with well, the narrative that is out there. So I actually thought it would be interesting, and I hope you don't mind, that I quickly want to play a portion of a YouTube video, and then we'll comment on it. It's not going to be a long video, so no one has to worry about that. So let me just grab the video. Okay, there it is. All right, and I want your opinion. I'll get the second half of the video up. So here at the bottom, I click share screen, and then I go here, and then I go share, and then I go to, I hope everyone can see what I'm doing. What am I doing? All right, so we're going to watch this video. So just give us a second, guys. It's a 4-minute video. Can everyone hear?
No sound.
Okay, I thought that had happened. That's happened before. No sound?
Yep.
That's happened before. Let me just... No sound yet. Hang on. This happened last time, and I figured it out, or so I thought. So let me just go to... Hang on, I'll stop sharing. I'm going to get rid of the microphone, actually.
Can't hear you now. Your lips are moving, but there's no sound coming out. No, no sound.
Now you can hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
All right. So now I'm just going to try that one more time, and if it doesn't work, I won't bother. Don't you just love technology? Exactly right, Vivi. All right, let's give it one more try.
97% of climate scientists agree that climate change is real. How many times have you heard that statement?
Can everyone hear?
Probably hundreds. It may seem like a compelling and scientific argument against fossil fuels, but it's one of the most illogical, unscientific arguments you can make. To see how, let's use this form of argument for another controversial product, vaccines. An anti-vaccine person approaches you and says, 97% of doctors say that the side effects of vaccines are real. What would you say in response? You'd probably say, yeah, but the benefits far outweigh the side effects. By saying that 97% of doctors agree that vaccine side effects are real without mentioning any of the benefits of vaccines, the anti-vaccine activist is trying to get you to look at the potential dangers of vaccines out of context. When fossil fuel opponents say 97% of climate scientists agree that climate change is real, they're doing the same. Yes, using fossil fuels for energy has a side effect, increasing the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. Okay, but what about the upside? In the case of fossil fuel, that upside is enormous. The cheap, plentiful, and reliable energy that makes modern life possible, and at a scale no other energy source can match. So how significant is the side effect? This raises another problem with the statement, 97% of climate scientists agree that climate change is real. It tells us nothing about the meaning or magnitude of climate change, whether it's a mild, manageable warming or a runaway, catastrophic warming. This is an example of the fallacy of equivocation, using the same term in different, contradictory ways. If someone were to say 97% of doctors agree that vaccine side effects are real, what exact vaccine side effects do the doctors agree on? That a certain number of babies will get a rash, or that large percentages will get full-blown autism? Precision is key, right? But fossil fuel opponents don't want you to know the precise magnitude of climate change, because if you did, you wouldn't be scared of climate change, you would be scared of losing the benefits of fossil fuels. For example, listen to how Secretary of State John Kerry manipulates the 97% of scientists line. 97% of climate scientists have confirmed that climate change is happening and that human activity is responsible, he said in a speech in Indonesia in 2014. Later, in the same speech, he claimed that scientists agree that the world as we know it will change, and it will change dramatically for the worse. 97% of climate scientists never said any such thing. So what did the 97% actually say? It turns out nothing remotely resembling catastrophic climate change. One of the main studies justifying 97% was done by John Cook, a climate communications fellow for the Global Change Institute in Australia. Here's his own summary of his survey. Cook et al. Found that over 97% of papers surveyed endorsed the view that the Earth is warming up and human emissions of greenhouse gases are the main cause. Main cause means over 50%. But the vast majority of papers don't say that human beings are the main cause of recent warming. In fact, one analysis showed that less than 2% of papers actually said that. How did Cook get to 97% then? First, he added papers that explicitly said there was man-made warming, but didn't say how much. Then he added papers that didn't even say there was man-made warming, but he thought it was implied. A scientific researcher has a sacred obligation to accurately report his findings. Cook and researchers like him have failed us, as have the politicians and media figures who have blindly repeated the 97% claim to support their anti-fossil fuel goals. How can we protect ourselves against this kind of manipulation? Whenever someone tells you that scientists agree on something, ask two questions. What exactly do they agree on? And how did they prove it? I'm Alex Epstein, author of The Moral...
Okay. Stop sharing. All right, I thought that was extremely relevant, and that is not news to you either. I feel like you've sort of always known about climate change. So first of all, what were your thoughts on the video? And then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the bushfires, your knowledge, your experience, and all that.
Well, there's a couple of things on climate change, and my opinion is that yes, the climate does change. It has been since the dawn of time, and it probably will, hopefully, until the end of time. It's something that occurs naturally, and the real science shows that the climate does change in cycles. And as for the effect of man, well, that's not really proven. And they're saying you got 97% of these scientists. Well, it's a bit hard to believe their claims and the validity of their claims when one of them signs his name off as Mickey Mouse. You know, like, really? I fall a bit short on it's their claims, and let's talk about their claims. They've made all these dramatic predictions, and how many of them have come true so far? None. Zero, zilch, not a one. Nope, none of them. And really, do we really want to give credence to a group of people who are 100% wrong all the time?
The left are often wrong. So what is the difference between weather and climate? Did you want to maybe get into that so that people can have an understanding of the difference?
The climate, as I understand it, is it's the climate is something we're stuck with. It's over a longer period. The weather changes. Well, I guess for you people down in Melbourne, changes every 5 minutes. But
it's going to be wet today and it's going to be wet tomorrow.
But up here, we have two lots of weather, wet and dry, and that's our seasons. But we have cold times, we have hot times. It just it's all part of nature. What we're going through at the moment is nothing that we haven't all gone through before. The droughts. This drought is not worse. The not worst drought we've had. We've had far worse droughts. The dry time, it's just. I can remember back when I was a kid, regularly they had a thermometer above a department store in a small country town that I lived in, and it regularly in the summer hit 120 degrees Fahrenheit. They ended up down because they thought it'd scare the tourists. But good old Condable in New South Wales. But we've had hot weather before, we've had dry weather before, we've had windy weather before, we've had a lot longer droughts than this before. So, yep, it's all part of natural change. And I don't deny that the climate changes. The climate does change, but what I do deny is and what I don't really know is the effect of man's activities on that. So, but I'm certainly not about to start running off and swinging from the ceilings and shouting the praise of people who sign their name off as Mickey Mouse. Nope.
Well, part of the reason that this climate change hysteria exists, I agree. Climate does change, and I've often told people that if you can convince me otherwise, I'm open to it. I'm more impartial and objective than people give me credit for, I think. Well, at least on the left I am. On the right, everyone knows that I interview people that I shouldn't, which is just dumb. But anyway, my point is, just had to get that dig in there. My point is that I'm fully aware that climate changes, and I'm fully aware that there is a difference between climate and weather. But the man who started the hysteria, as you heard, was someone named that Aussie who put together a bunch of papers and then it was just implied. So like they're quoting 97% when it's actually 2%. And then someone ran with it, and now Greta Thunberg has become a god. At least she's been elevated to godhood status based on a lie.
Well, I've been about a little bit longer than poor little Greta.
Yes.
I've had the benefit of seeing what the seasons have done over the years and what the weather's done over the years, how the climate's been over the years. So I don't really think that she has any credence in telling us in Australia what. She has
no knowledge. It's her father writing all her tweets.
Just reads out of a script, and when they take the script away from her, she just dribbles. So, I'll put my personal observations up against her theory anytime.
Well, I want to ask you a little bit about yourself on a personal level, or professional level, I should say. How long were you in the fire brigade, or whatever it's called, the fire station? How long did you do that for, and what got you involved with that?
Royal Fire Service, only a few years. But the thing is with that, I was born and raised on a farm. I spent my life, I've had stints working with government departments. I've worked with forestry, I've worked with corrections, I've worked in local government, I've worked in different departments. But I've always maintained a connection with the land, and even when working in those departments, I've always had some interest in farming and agriculture. And I guess as any farmer would know, anyone involved in agriculture, you're forever managing vegetation, you're managing land, and you're managing fire.
And part of that is fire breaks.
Part of agriculture. Oh yeah, well, fire breaks. You know, I spend a lot of time. I bought this place I'm on now about 10 years ago, and I've spent a lot of money and time, not just preparing my block, but a couple of neighbours at my own expense of, you know, putting in fire tracks and cleaning out, you know, ladder fuel and rubbish and to prepare for fires. It's something you're always doing. And that gets to the point, is that it's something you always need to do. Hazard reduction is not something that can be done in one season overnight. It's ongoing, and it has to be done regularly. You can't just do it in one season. These people that talk about the window of opportunity, they don't know what they're talking about. They're full of it, because I've got mates now who are burning now in North Queensland. Yeah.
Oh, in North Queensland you are, okay.
Burn at any time of the year. It's a daily thing.
In Victoria, I think a man got fined $500,000.
Practically, you can light a fire at any time of the year and conduct a hazard reduction burn or a controlled burn or whatever you like to call it.
Okay.
The system, the legal system, prevents people from doing that. They had a permit. They were able to do it anyway. So
kept me keeping my house.
This window of opportunity is a load of garbage, and it's something that to be able to conduct hazard reduction, it's something that you have to work with the weather on. You know, what might be suitable one day may not be the next day. So you work with the weather, but hazard reduction is something that has to be ongoing and done over a number of years. You can't just do it all in 1 year. That's not how it works. With the forestry, we used to go around and we'd burn sections of land. We'd burn small parcels. We'd run fires down from the tops of ridges, and they'd trickle down slowly in the cooler months. And they would only run as far as the section that we burnt the year before or the year before that, where there was reduced fuel. And what that meant was that any animals that happened to be there in that fire that we were lighting were able to quite easily escape to the unburned country. And that's how it works. That's how the Aboriginals did it for hundreds of thousands of years. They managed it, and then our early settlers, when they arrived, they did this, followed the same things, all for slightly different reasons. But that's how ecosystems in Australia have evolved. But now, fortunately, we've got politicians who seem to think they know better than history.
The politicians are not going off facts. I suppose they're going off what's popular in the moment, and that is what's winning them their seat, because they're career politicians.
You just nailed it. What we're seeing is popular politics. We're not seeing practical politics. There's a difference.
Well, okay. Would you like to discuss? All right. So, in terms of fire breaks and all that kind of stuff, what needs to be done is everything is fuel, right? So everything dry, is it dry land that's like, you need to get rid of bushes? Because I recently did a video, which I haven't released yet. I'm going to release it on the weekend. It's not my best work, but it's because I don't know this subject. It's me just sort of having a go. But from what I understand, according to the government websites, anything is fuel. Trees are fuel for a fire, bushes are fuel for a fire. And so I would think, because the Greenies are so adamant about protecting animals usually, that they would want these fire breaks or these hazard reductions because it would protect animals. But more animals have died in this bushfire than ever before. Our little furry friends are being burnt alive. That's not good.
There's a couple of points there, a few points there that you've raised.
Go ahead, break it down.
Trees, fuel, fire fuel, the most dangerous part of fire fuel is what I call ladder fuel. And that's ladder fuel. and that is the fuel between the grass, 100 mil high, 4 inches high, up to the base of the canopy of the large trees. Now, for many years, the forests that we managed had massive big trees in them, large trees all through it. That's what they were. They were forests. They had trees. So how do we protect those trees? We managed the ladder fuel. We got rid of the ladder fuel, the rubbish, that's everything that's vegetation between the grass and the base of the canopy of the trees.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's all that stuff. Without that, yeah, look, you'll get in big strong winds, you'll get crown fires that run along the tops of trees, but the crown fire can't sustain itself for any more than a few hundred metres, depending on the temperature at the time and the wind, without fuel underneath it.
Sorry, keep going.
A fire needs fuel to sustain itself. Without that fuel, it cannot be sustained. With no fuel, no fire. Reduced fuel, reduced intensity of the fire. So you can still have your tree. We're not talking bare earth. We're talking sensible management. You can still have your trees. You can still have the grass underneath. You just keep that bulk of that fuel down. We used to burn and keep the rubbish down. You get all these introduced weeds. You get lantana and black wattle and all the other rubbish. Even gum saplings, eucalypt saplings that come through. They will only ever grow up and impede well, they won't come to anything because the larger trees are going to choke them out. But so in a forest situation, you have your large trees and you keep all that rubbish down, and as a tree falls over and dies, it's replaced by younger trees. So in a farm situation, you've got grazing paddocks, and now methods have sort of picked up in the last few decades where people have keeping clumps of trees, they're keeping trees on boundaries and one thing and another. You need trees. There's no argument there. But what's happening at the moment is that this green culture of lock everything up and leave it has allowed all this rubbish to grow up in the meantime, and that's why we have these fires. People talk about unprecedented. Well, what is actually they're not the worst fires we've had. What is unprecedented is the build-up of fuel.
Oh, the build-up of fuel, because you're not allowed to get rid of it anymore.
That's right. Well,
there you go.
In the 90s, when forest areas we managed quite successfully, were taken office and given to, and I'm going to call them this. That this is what we nicknamed them: Nasty Sparks and Wildfire Service.
Okay.
Sparks and Wildfire Service, a pack of greenies, and they put bulldozers through fire trails. They put gates across, and they locked it all up, and all this rubbish grew up. Now, when the fire came through, no one had access. Now, the reason you talk about fire breaks, I'll get onto that now. The reason for fire breaks is that so you can split areas up into smaller areas that you can reduce the size of the fire. You use a fire break to run what's called a back burn off or an indirect attack. That's called the indirect attack on fires. There's three methods of attack on a fire. There's direct, parallel, and indirect. And the indirect attack is called the back burn. But a lot of people get that confused with hazard reduction burns. That's why you need fire breaks. But those fire breaks have to be adequate. They have to be clear. They have to be wide enough to turn a vehicle around in so that crews can be safe in them. And you have to have fallback. The wind will blow. It'll blow spot overs and sparks over into another area. You have to have a plan B and a plan C, and sometimes a few more letters of the alphabet plan. So, it's years ago we fought and managed the fires and managed the country we didn't have aircraft to support. We didn't have that. We had crews on the ground, fire tankers and blokes walking along with a drip torch, dropping, lighting up a line and someone coming along behind, blacking out behind them. And then you had to follow up behind that, taking care of spot overs. So that's how we fought fires years ago. But they weren't as intense because there wasn't the amount of fuel. And I saw a comment today on Facebook where someone said, "Oh, but hazard reduction burning doesn't work because you've got to do it every 2 or 3 years." Well, that is how it works. Do it every 2 or 3 years. This bloke has never been. Obviously, he's all full of theory, but he's obviously never been in he's got some ecological science degree, but he's obviously had about 5 minutes practical experience. He's never been in the bush and done it. So Hazard reduction, and when we talk about hazard reduction, it's not just burning. Burning, you know, is just one part.
What else does it tell us?
You've got grazing, you've got forestry activities, you've got mechanical, you know, pulling. We used to go through our forest areas, eucalypt areas, years ago and do what's called TSI, timber stand improvement. We take out all the saplings and suckers. That kept the fuel down. That kept the stopped the big trees from being competed with. Yeah, and you know, it's just it's an over.
Can you read the screen?
Yeah, okay. I know. Heard of Henry Ford?
Okay. Sorry, keep going.
You know, all these people that think there is a quick fix for this. There's no quick fix for it. It's and the trouble is, we get back to this popular politics. We're getting we don't. Our politicians can only see 3 years ahead or toward to the next election. They can't see past that. So what do? They try and appease. They grab votes by appeasing all those people. And I'm not knocking people in the urban areas who have not had the experience. And you know, there are many people that are now starting to wake up to what's happening. But all these people who haven't had that practical experience, you can't expect them to know what has to be done. So what happened? The politicians, especially from the left, and even those on the right, sadly enough,
I'm sure.
Start spreading in the media. And well, what do the media do? They don't let the facts get in the way of a good bullshit article. They'll you know, they have to sell their products. So how do they sell their products? Sensationalism. So they'll sensationalise it, and all the people that are not up to speed with what's actually needed, all they get is what they see and hear in the media. And now we've got social media, which has made it 10 times worse because there's all these chairborne experts, I call them, armchair commandos, that are out there and they have instant knowledge because they actually heard it and read it off someone else that knew nothing as well. So now we have what's a snowball effect where all these so-called experts are feeding off one another and all this misinformation gets put about and hopefully shows, you know, programs like yourself, we can get some information out there, practical information out so that people understand what really...
What I'm here for.
I wish people would... especially on social media, would ask rather than preach, but they tend to preach the theories, and they've got those.
I'm asking. I don't know anything about climate change. I'm asking you.
Yeah. Oh, look.
Why can't people be ignorant and just find out?
I don't know much about climate change either, except for what I've seen over the last 60 odd years, and you know.
Yeah, of course.
No, it changes.
You understand the connection of the bushfires and what the media is claiming. You're sort of a middleman to all of this. And that's why I thought you were good for this. If you had said no to this interview, I would have had a backup, but you were the #1 choice. So thanks for saying yes.
No, I think the other one of the other points you raised, I'm trying to remember what it was
oh, sorry. Did I interrupt? Yeah.
No, you're right. No, it was about, we talked about hazard reduction. We talked about the way that fuel was reduced. There are many different ways. How we used to manage it, I guess I'll go back to the 90s, and as I said, a lot of these areas are now being locked up and let overgrow, but so has the access. You know, fighting bushfires, fuel reduction is part of it, but so is having suitable access and suitable fire breaks. That's the other part of it. People talk about the arsonists. Oh, they're to blame. You know, they say, oh, it's not climate change, it's arsonists. They need to forget about the ignition sources. There are many ignition sources. Yes, there are arsonists, and there are lightning strikes, and there's also all sorts of things. We cannot do much about the ignition sources. It's something beyond our control. We need to focus on stuff that we can practically and physically attend to, and what we can practically and physically attend to are fuel loads. We can't do anything. There's three things it's called the fire triangle. The three things that need to exist before a fire can exist. You've got heat, oxygen, and fuel. We can't do anything about the heat. We can't do anything about the oxygen, but we can do something about the fuel. And guess what? The fuels are one of the things that we don't do anything about, thanks to our politicians, our major parties, and both right and left. The Liberal National Coalition and the Labor Green Coalition are almost as bad as one another. I have to say, as someone involved in agriculture for a long time, that certainly the right are far more favourable to us than the left. But the problem with the right now is that they are trying to buy votes, trying to grab votes, and they're pandering to these, letting these things come into the equation that shouldn't be even focused on. Because what happens, by focusing on arsonists and ignition sources and climate change and all the other stuff, we're taking the focus away from where it really needs to be. It needs to be reduction. After the really bad fires that we've had a few years back, they've had inquiries, but guess what? They completely ignored. Not only did they completely ignore the recommendations, they actually just kept snowballing along in their merry old way, tripping over their own feet, and imposed more regulation and more restrictions. So, okay, in Queensland, we've got this thing called the Native Vegetation Act, and people might think, oh, it's good to have that, you know. Yes, and it is, protect the native vegetation, but they've gone the other side of the spectrum. What they've done, they've cut off their nose to spite their face. Now
Sorry, someone's just complimenting you. This is my moderator. She goes, I like how Clem just explained the 3 things needed to start a fire. Seriously, can't get more logical than that. Clean up the rubbish, far out. Guys, you can start asking questions and I'll put them up on the screen. I think now's the time, but I want you to finish your point. Go ahead.
Yeah. What's happened is that this Native Vegetation Act, they've introduced these restrictions. Now, farmers are no longer allowed to reduce fuel loads in there. They can get permits to burn, but by the time you get a permit, remember before I said about how burning is time critical and weather dependent. Well, by the time you jump through all the bureaucratic hurdles and application processes and get the permit, the opportunity is lost. You know,
you mean the window's gone? The window of opportunity is gone.
Oh yes, that terrible window of opportunity.
Excuse me.
You know, the weather opportunity is lost. As I said, I got mates up in North Queensland that are burning now, and they've had quite a bit of success because they work with the weather. They were lucky enough to strike the permits at the right time. You know, it's a bit like a lottery. But what the Native Vegetation Act's done is it says now that you can only have clear 10 metres to put in a fence line. That's 5 metres either side of the fence. That is not enough room to even turn a vehicle around. You're in that, a fire comes through, good luck turning around. You want to try and reverse out of there, good luck with that. They wonder why people die in fires. Around your assets, around your house and buildings, you're only allowed to have 20 metres or 1.5 times the height of the nearest vegetation. Have a look at every single picture of buildings that have been lost in the fires, these terrible fires that we're having at the moment. Have a look at every single building that's been lost. You will notice what's up close to them. Ladder fuel, vegetation, right up close. That's why the buildings have been lost. You talked before about someone that got fined for clearing. I know one mate down in New South Wales. It was New South Wales or Victoria. I think there's been a couple that he got fined for clearing all around his buildings. Guess whose buildings are the only ones left standing? Oh, mate.
Oh, mate, nice.
Yeah, he got fined, but his buildings are still there, and all the others are gone. The reason all the others are gone,
because they want to build trains on that land.
Our policy in Queensland, our shooters, fishers, farmers policy in Queensland, we're saying we need up to, around developments and significant infrastructure, you need up to 500 metres. I'm not talking clear earth. I'm talking a 500 metre fuel reduced zone. Still have your nice big trees. You come to my place, you can see nice big gum trees everywhere. I've got koalas, I've got roos, I've got all sorts of, every sort of bird and lizard you can name, and everything, every sort of insect. I get bitten that many times, it's not funny. It's a nature reserve, but it's cleared grazing area, and I've got lovely big gum trees, but I don't have problems with fires. When fires come, I'm able to knock them down and stop them with just one machine, one track machine.
That's awesome.
I run around the blade and scrub it, run straight through the flames and scrub it out, because it's not intense fire. That's how it works. But all these buildings that have been lost are because of these petty bureaucratic rules and regulations made by people who
very petty
spend their life warming chairs and have never actually been out and got dirt under their fingernails. So they don't have any skin in the game. So it's easy for them to make theoretical, I'll get it in a minute, based rules.
Theoretical based rules.
Those ones.
Say it 5 times.
They're unable to tie those into practical applications, which is the problem.
Well, do you mind taking some audience questions?
No, go for it.
Okay, Jason, he's my friend from Sydney. Clem, do you think that there is no need to alter the firearm laws in Australia? I don't know how that relates to what we're talking about, but it must if he's asking it.
Yes and no. There is a need to significantly increase penalties for illegal use of firearms.
For illegal?
Illegal. We need a lot tougher firearm laws on criminals, because if you look at statistics, you will find that it is not licensed firearm owners who are creating the problem. It is criminals. What we have at the moment is a government who wants to penalise. They take the easy way out. So it's easier to penalise licensed firearm owners than it is to target criminals, because they don't know who the criminals are. So here, some time back in New South Wales, the Shooters, Fishers, Farmers tried to introduce a bill into Parliament there to increase penalties for criminal misuse of firearms. Guess who voted it down? Greens, Labor, and the Liberal Nationals. They all voted it down. They didn't want increased penalties for criminals. So work that one out. What I say is that we need our governments to stop focusing and penalising licensed shooters and start spending the time and money focusing on the people who are actually causing the problem, and that's criminals. And people say, well, who are these licensed shooters? Well, these licensed shooters are mums and dads. They're professional people. They're tradies.
I shot a guy.
Yeah, go on.
Do you want to tell you what happened? It's really embarrassing. I was with your friend, good old Jim Savage.
Yep.
Up in Queensland, and I shot one of the soft guns where you can't hear anything. One of those rifles just into the dam.
22.
And then,
yep.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. And then he gave me, I think it was a 303 or a 320 or something like that. And then I got.
He gave you a 270.
Yeah, it was really loud. No, the next was really loud, and then for some reason, because I don't know, I'm such a moron, but I hadn't drunk that day. I hadn't eaten that day, and I wasn't used to the heat. And then I'll link you the video when we get off the phone. I'll text it to you. It's really embarrassing, but I took the piss out of myself. I don't mind. I mock myself all the time. But basically, I didn't even get to hold the gun when I went, and I just fainted like a dickhead.
Come up again, and I'll give you a shot of a 45-70. You can fit a 270 shell inside it.
Yeah, well, my sister was embarrassed. She goes, how the hell are you my sister? She goes, we're Colombian. We've shot guns before. I'm like, I know, I don't know what happened. And it was obviously the heat stroke, and yeah.
But look, getting back to Jason's question, there is a need to alter the firearm laws. We need to reduce the emphasis on licensed firearm owners and increase it on criminals. And a licensed firearm owner should be able to possess any firearm legally available in Australia. We've got a case up here in Queensland where farmers who have had handguns on their properties for 17, 20 years, and all of a sudden the Labor government have said, well, let's take them off them. So they've had to, when they've gone to reapply for their licence, this tool of their trade, suddenly the police have said, no, you can't have it. And one licensing police officer said to one of the people that I know, well, we want to get as many of these off the street as we can. But the thing he missed is that these handguns have never been on the street since the day old mate bought it. It's been on his farm, and he uses it to put down sick and injured animals, livestock, wildlife, whatever. There are many applications on a lot of these properties where it's impractical to carry a long arm, a rifle, and it's unsafe to do so. You know, these handguns, okay, so old mate now gets knocked back. So what's he do? He goes and joins the local pistol club. He can keep that handgun, but now he gets to carry it over public land. So work that out. There's no common sense in it.
No.
A couple of people have actually gone to the Administrative Tribunal, QCAT, here in Queensland. Cost them $20,000, but they actually got their handguns back. The courts saw the reality of it and how they needed these things. So this is what I'm talking about, this emphasis on penalising those people who are not doing the wrong thing, licensed shooters. We've seen since licensing first came back in the mid-70s in New South Wales, firearm-related deaths prior to that were around 600 odd per year in Australia. They're down now to around 200. And guess what? Since 1996, there are now more licensed legal firearms in the hands of licensed shooters, many more than what there were before. So,
not surprised.
An increase in legal ownership of firearms does not equate to an increase in crime with firearms. So, but yep, to answer, yep. So that's.
All right. Well, it's a new question by my friend Reg. Hey, Clem, what does the Shooters and Fishers and Farmers Party Queensland plan for the state election of 2020?
How you going, Reg? I've seen you about before, or seen the name about before.
Yeah, he said he knew you. He loves you. When he found out I was interviewing, right? He was like, yes! He was so excited.
We've been struggling here for about 4 years to get the party up and running in Queensland. It's been operating in New South Wales, Victoria and Western Australia and other states for quite some time. In Queensland, nothing had been happening. We got it up and registered last year. It's been a long, hard battle. We've set the party up so that people can get involved from the ground up. It's not about me as the chairman telling them how things should be done. It's people can form branches and run the party from the ground up. Yes, we do have a final say, and I have to vet certain things, but we're now trying to get prepared for the upcoming election in October. At this stage, we've only got one candidate running, and that's in the Southern Downs, a bloke by the name of Malcolm Richardson. We are desperately hoping that more people will come forward. We've got a small committee of very dedicated volunteers, and we're all volunteers. You know, we spend our own money and time on this, and lots of it. What we need is for people to come forward. Then there will be the end of the election, people say, but we didn't have a Shooters, Fishers, Farmers Party person to vote for. Well, that's because people didn't step up. People want to complain and whinge about bad firearm laws, about bad vegetation laws, about
who's stepping up, who's doing anything.
That's all as far as I go. We need people to join the party, get involved, form a branch in their local area, help select their own candidates. It's not about us telling you who your candidate should be. You select them. You help support your candidates. Your candidates are there to represent your community. They represent the party, but primarily they're there to represent the community that they're in. And this is major politics has got out of hand. It's all about the party and all about the party machine and doing what the party says. Well, you know, we don't have to do what we have certain policies and we have certain guidelines, but the party doesn't tell us what to do. We run our own show in Queensland, and
that's impressive. That's really good.
And they may not like what we do all the time, but we're all driving down the same sort of track, but we might be on parallel tracks, but we're heading in the same direction and we all conform to the same ideals. So for the people out there in the community, they need to get in and get involved, get in touch with us. If you know someone that might be a good candidate, well, we want to hear about it. We want you to put them up, and we want to get them standing because.
Well, the links are below in the description box, guys. If you have any thoughts in your state, the links are below. You can contact Clem here and make those recommendations for sure.
Here's a question. Here's another question back on the bushfire one. So let's get back onto that, Peter.
So how long is the opportunity? This is my friend Peter V. How long is the window of opportunity to conduct controlled hazard reduction and land clearing? There's a few questions, so hopefully we can get through them all. You're
right. Look, that window, as I said before, is it could be as long as a day. It could be as long as a fortnight. It's not summer or winter, dry or wet. Obviously, when the country is wet, you can't burn. We're talking about hazard reduction by burning at this stage. Okay, so the window of opportunity to conduct hazard reduction burning depends on the weather. It depends on, you might get several days of really good weather. Here, earlier before Christmas, we had the Nasty Sparks and Wildfire Service decide to light a fire on Bribey Island. Totally idiotic and moronic, my description for that. We've got so many things we can look on. We've got willy weather, we've got windy weather, we've got bomb, we've got all the different weather forecasts, and it was forecasted for a major weather front to come through, and they have their own, and they still lit it. Okay, that window of opportunity was just stupidity. They should have never have lit it. They wiped out the entire island. They wiped out every native animal on that island. It was just, it's absolutely criminal. And I've got friends who've got videos and actually flew drones over it and have videos of the destruction. And it's something we're going to put on the state government, the Labor state government, who denied it, or they can't deny it any longer. But the window of opportunity lasts as long as favourable weather lasts. Now, hazard reduction, favourable weather. Hazard reduction is not just limited to burning. It's part of the jigsaw. You need to be able to reduce the fuel by other means, by mechanical means. Grazing's a really good one. Keeps the rubbish down. Access through the areas. Fire breaks and access tracks on a regular, spacing out through the area. That sort of stuff. It's not just a one solution fix.
Okay. Shooter Down Under asks, can we clean out the greenies? That would get rid of a lot of rubbish in Australia.
Yeah, well, you're speaking to the converted here. Look, I don't, and I guess if you want to look at the real greenies, the real conservationists, you're looking at one. You're looking at people who've been getting dirt under their fingernails for years and decades. Farmers. Yeah, look, we haven't always done it right, but like everybody else, we learn from our mistakes, and we're working to do it better. We're continually improving, because if we don't continuously improve, we won't be in business for very long. So the greenies, is the last question raised, are those that run on theory and run on all the hype and emotion. And okay, let's throw up an example. Their example is prevent fuel reduction. You've seen people, these photos on social media of people preventing, protesting against hazard reduction burns down on the south coast of New South Wales, and people whinging about, but what about all the baby animals, and what about the destruction of the plants? But we've got to cop all this smoke. That's terrible. We're going to cough for a few days. Well, what about the smoke now? What sort of smoke are they copping now? What sort of devastation are we seeing on the native wildlife? What about the 2,000 odd homes that have been lost, the people that have died, the millions of hectares of land that have been totally destroyed? Yes, it will come back, but unfortunately, if we keep managing it the way we're doing it, it'll only come back with more fire-prone species, and it'll just create a snowball situation where we keep happening it. So these greenies are cutting off their nose to spite their face. They're preventing the one thing that prevents the destruction of the environment.
No, okay. Jason, yeah, go ahead.
What policy put forward to assist with at least clearing of vegetation on private land? Well, removing the red tape and regulation, preventing people from clearing their own blocks, and you know, I have a problem with a lot of rural residential blocks around the place. People move into these areas, and it's not their fault. They don't know. They've never experienced a bad fire, and they think it's nice to live in with all these trees and one thing or other. Some people don't have the capacity to clear it. So this is where governments need to step in and provide assistance to help them clear it. It's a lot cheaper to provide subsidies to help people clean up their blocks and keep the ladder fuel down than it is to spend millions of dollars on aircraft having to fight the fires and repair the damage. And it's a lot cheaper to clean up your block than it is to replace your house and possibly your life.
Yes. All right.
Great take. Answer that question, Vivian.
Do you know her? She was you.
Okay, buildings and roadways. We're saying at least 30 metres separating the canopies of the nearest vegetation, not the dense canopies. And then with blocks, say, over 100 hectares, we're saying that may need to be quite substantially larger. What we're saying around urban developments like villages, towns, industrial areas, we're saying up to 500 metres of fuel reduced zone, not bare earth, fuel reduced zone. We're saying you can still have your trees, you can still keep the grass, but just keep that ladder fuel down between them, keep it back. You know, common sense. If it looks like it's too, you know, the facts and evidence are there. The evidence are there. Photographic evidence is there of these buildings that have all burnt, because the fire can only be intense because of fuel. Reduce the fuel, you reduce the intensity. Plenty of places that have been in these fires that are still standing because they didn't have all that ladder fuel underneath. They had trees, they had grass, but they didn't have all that fuel in between.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Trying to get through as many. Ask him if he believes that Aboriginal bushfire starting practices resulted in our present ecology being vulnerable to and even dependent upon burnings.
Well, you're looking at about 40 to 60,000 years of practice, so that's how our ecosystems have evolved, and our native plants and trees rely on fire for their survival, to reproduce. They basically rely on it for their survival. If you didn't have say the Aboriginal practices or the practices of the settlers up to when we were prevented from loads of, well, I say prevented, hindered would be a better word, from reducing fuel loads. You've seen the results now. Massive loads of fuel, total destruction. So
it works.
We've done that, been there, done that. We've managed large areas of forest and farming land, and you know, they managed to survive. The animals survived. The animals could move to the burnt area that we did the season before or the season before that. So the way they're doing it now is creating destruction. The way we did it before mimicked the way that the ecosystems evolved over thousands of years.
My moderator, is it possible to backburn secretly without getting caught? So she's recommending, you know, possible jail time, but is it possible?
Not unless you can hide the smoke. That's the short answer.
Fire.
Yeah, where there's fire, there's smoke. Yeah, so no, you can't do that. We just need common sense. We need practical rules and regulations and practical politics rather than popular rules-based popular politics.
Kashmir, Clem, mate, keep up the good work. Dear, you're a legend for having Clem on for a yarn. The boys in Gippsland are supporting you both. Yay! They love us.
Very good.
Okay, this is an unusual question. This is, I think, and I don't want to mischaracterize him, I think he's a white nationalist, and he's asking Clem, how do we stop the Great Replacement?
What's the Great Replacement?
It means that the hordes, the turbocharged immigration that we have in this country, my parents included, they're Colombian and Spanish, means that the white race will eventually be erased due to constant mixed marriages?
Good question. Australia was founded on immigration.
Yes.
We have many fine immigrants that have given us a lot of a greater part of our culture. I love pizzas. You know, your Colombian background, I'm sure that there's a lot of Colombian heritage that people are enjoying in this country at the moment. We have a lot of immigrants. However, what we need to do is get a little bit strategic about how we do it. We need the right people.
Stop it. It's too much. Sorry, keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off.
We need the right people coming in for a start. We need to be a lot more choosy on who we allow into the country.
Agreed.
And I don't where they come from or what religion they are or what colour they are. We just need to check their background a little bit. Would you invite someone into your house not knowing who they were and what they were capable of? No, you wouldn't. Yeah. Why should we do it in our country? But right at the moment, we've got some issues in this country. We've got hundreds of thousands of people living on the streets. We've got pensioners going without basic necessities like heating and food and medication and all those little things that you need to survive. We've got people going without those basics. So before we start spending billions on aid to other countries, yes, we do need to maintain we do need to do that, but we need to be spending that on countries that would reciprocate if the tables were turned. The old pub test. Ask them, would they do it if the tables were turned? Well, if the answer's no, then bugger off. We don't want to know about them. Our trade relies on foreign aid. A lot of the benefits that we enjoy rely on foreign aid. We can't stop it. We need to keep it, but we need to be more strategic and a lot more strict on how we spend it. But as far as people coming into the country, we're always going to need that. We've seen the benefits of it so far. But what we need to be a lot more discriminatory in how we go about it. And there's a discrimination word. Oh, the greenies will be up me. But anyway,
I agree. Well, you look like a greenie today.
I wear it as a badge of honour. But right at the moment, we've got some issues in this country that we really do need to attend to. We need to look after our pensioners. We need to look after our less fortunate, the people that are homeless, our veterans. We need to be looking after them. You know, we've got people who've gone out and defended and fought for this country, and they're treated like dogs in their own country. It's worse than dogs. It's sad. And
white people in South Africa are being murdered.
Yeah, well, I moved down here from the Northern Territory, and I'm looking at communities up there that are worse than third world communities. We've got, let's throw money at them. Let's give them money, but they're not addressing the issues. They're not addressing the problems. They're not addressing
Indigenous communities.
Indigenous communities, yep. There's throwing money at it is not going to solve the problem.
Definitely not.
There's a lady getting around up there by the name of Jacinta Price. They should be listening to
her.
I know.
I interviewed her.
Well, they need to listen to people like her because she's the fair income girl, not these coconuts that think they know everything and the greenies that we need to be looking after our own people in this country first. Then once we get our own backyards tidied up and mowed, let's then start sticking our noses over there and checking out our neighbours' backyards and seeing how they're going. Then we can start looking at spending money on other nations and importing people here. But let's import the right type of people. But certainly we've got to fix up our own mess first, and we do have a mess at the moment. You know, when you've got elderly people dying because they can't afford heating and proper food and medication, there is something seriously wrong with the way this place is run.
I agree. The same man, Phil Cunningham, has a different question. Should we stop apologising? I think he means apologising to the left, but yeah.
Most definitely. We have nothing to apologise for. If anything, it's
Trump doesn't apologise.
The left that need to be apologising to us because it's their loony ideals they're socialistic ideals that have turned this in, that do they want Australia to be like Venezuela and these other socialist?
I hope not.
You vote your way into socialism, but I tell you what, you're going to have to shoot your way out of it.
It's bad. Like it's not my country. My mother's country of Colombia suffers because they're getting all these extra people now, and they already don't have the infrastructure, but people are going to die in Venezuela. So the Colombians take them in, and now it's just increased the population, and they can't handle it.
Socialism has never worked anywhere. You know, look at all the dictatorships.
It works.
You know,
it works for the first 10 years, and then it just plummets.
Russia, Germany, China, other places that as soon as they've had the socialist dictatorship comes in, hundreds of thousands of people die. Law-abiding people die. You know, but yeah. So no, we shouldn't be apologising. We should be saying to the left, get stuffed. You apologise to us. We've got nothing to apologise for, and if you don't like it, you know, take the next boat out of Circular Quay. See you later.
Justin Bieber has a question for you.
Will you put all the minor before the Liberal? Okay, preferences. Very good question. Very good question. Political parties do not distribute preferences. We do not own your vote. You own your vote. You put your vote and your preferences where you choose. It's not for me to tell you where to put your preferences. We make recommendations. The Shooters, Fishers, Farmers Party in Queensland, our recommendations are, in the seats that we're running in, obviously consider and give us your number one vote. We would really like it. The only other firm recommendation we make is put Labor last and Green second last. Now, the reason why we say Green second last is because they're not as big a threat. They're only slightly, they're a lot more loony than the Labor, but they're not as big a threat. So we say put the Green second last and Labor last. Being a Conservative party, what we would suggest you do is put other Conservative parties in the order that you choose behind the Shooters, Fishers, Farmers. Now, okay, say that you're an LNP voter and you really don't want Labor to get in, which I don't. I don't want Labor to get back in. They're a disaster. So in a seat, if I didn't have a Shooters, Fishers, Farmers candidate in my seat, well, I'm going to probably vote for the right-wing minor parties first. I'll give them one. I
agree.
And then say Katter Party, One Nation. This is say with hypothetically here we don't have a Shooters, Fishers, Farmers in this seat. So I'm going to vote Katter Party, One Nation, not necessarily in that order. I'll make up my mind on the day. They're much of a muchness. And then I'd put the LNP. So guess what's happened? Say in my seat, neither Katter or One Nation candidates get up. Guess where my vote goes? It then automatically flows down to the LNP. So because I put Labor last, my vote has gone, my preference has gone towards a Conservative party before it's gone to the left.
Yes.
So people do need to educate on how the voting system works. You own your vote, exercise your vote, number all the boxes. Look, if you want to follow the party recommendations, do so. That's fine. But don't complain about the outcome. Exercise your vote, number all the boxes, and vote for the people that you choose. So your preferences go where you put them, not where Clem Wheatley wants you to put them, where Justin wants to put them, or Bieber, or whatever his name is. But yeah, we recommend Conservative parties first. Left, leave them out or put them down the bottom.
This is interesting. Jason says, to be fair, Clem, your leader harmed the confidence of some Conservatives, including me. Who was he talking about?
I can assume that there's been that would be about some of the comments that are coming out of New South Wales. Now, as I said before.
Yeah, he's from New South Wales, yes.
Yeah, New South. Look, you can't please everyone all the time.
No, of course.
And people are entitled to their personal views. People are entitled to make comments. Just because someone in New South Wales makes a comment doesn't mean to say that I in Queensland agree with it 100%. We don't agree with a lot of the comments that have come out of New South Wales. We agree with the policies, we agree with the ethos, we agree with the ideologies of the party, but we're not duty bound to agree with every single word that comes out of someone else's mouth. Now, they're entitled to their opinions, as I'm entitled to mine. So if they want to have an opinion on something, that's up to them. But what people need to do, look at the policies. And sometimes some people make statements that are not consistent with the policy. So don't focus too much on what comes out of people's mouths so much. Look at their policies, because that's what they put it in writing. They put it in black and white. It's there for people to see. You can't deny it. It's up in writing.
I changed the question. Sorry, yeah.
I'll get to that one in a minute. So just because someone in New South Wales makes a comment doesn't mean to say that we agree with it in Queensland. And our policies are slightly different in Queensland. And if people are in Queensland and they are concerned about what they're hearing coming out of other states, then go to our website and look at our policies. And then if you need to ask, sure, get in touch with us and ask questions. We'll talk to you all day about it. But look at the policies first and foremost. Don't so much, you know. And let's face it, some things that have been said have been taken out of context. The media like to twist people's words around. Some of those comments, and I know what he's talking about, but I'm not going to go into it. I don't agree with it personally, and Queensland do not agree with it, with some of those comments. I do not want to, for one moment, take away the right of those people to have their say. They're entitled to have their say and make those comments. And I support them in their right to have that say, and I support their approach down there. If they want to do it different to us, that's fine. But as long as it doesn't impact negatively on us in Queensland, I don't care what they do. They can hang by their ankles from the rafter with a pink tutu on. You know? As long as it doesn't impact on us negatively, I don't care.
Fair enough. Well, we're done with that. Do you believe that firearms should be able to be used in self-defense? You can answer that quickly. I don't think you need to elaborate too much.
If you're a licensed shooter and you have a legal firearm, you should be able to. Well, you can use it in self-defense. There is no law to say you can't. You just got to be able to justify it.
In Queensland, in Victoria, we're not even allowed to have pepper spray or like a baseball bat next to us because it shows intent to harm.
We believe that people should be able to legally possess them. No, hang on, I'll start again. We believe that suitably or appropriately, people who have, we don't believe that everyone should have access to weapons.
Yeah, fair enough.
We don't believe that everyone should have access to a firearm. We don't believe that everyone should have access to pepper spray. We don't believe that everyone should have access to a knife. But what we do believe is those people who are deemed fit and proper persons, who have been checked and vetted and issued with a license, we believe that you should be able to possess any firearm legally available in Australia. You should be able to possess that for the purpose of self-defence. If someone comes into my house and starts arguing, I don't know that I should be able to come out with the 12 gauge and blow them away. But certainly if they turn up to my doorstep with a firearm, I should be able to go like for like and defend myself and use a firearm in that defence. Again, it gets back to common sense. And, you know, let's face it, the criminals are out there running around with weapons of offence, yet the government specifically legislate us from possessing weapons of defence. So again, it's all upside down and inside out. It's not right.
Okay. Benjamin Molesworth, he is one of my other moderators. Hope you had a good Christmas. It was nice running into you at Kmart, Benjamin. Could you ask him about other conservative beliefs so we know where Clem stands on other issues? So I'm just going to give you a series of words and you tell me whether you're pro or not. Pro-life or pro-choice?
There are certain reasons that women can have. I don't believe personally. I don't believe that one of those should be because they don't want the baby anymore. They're done with it and they don't want the baby anymore. That's a life, and they shouldn't be able to take that away. But I believe they should have the choice that. And let's face it, if circumstances are that there are other circumstances. I'm 50-50 on that one. Look, it's not something you can answer yes or no. And I'm not a female, and I don't have.
Yes.
I'm
like.
So it's not for me to tell how that should be done. I don't believe that we're staying right out of that in Queensland. We don't believe that we have the right to tell other people how to run their lives in that respect.
Okay.
Yep, there's valid reasons.
What about?
Okay.
What about Christianity? Are you a Christian? Are you pro-Christianity? Where do you stand on Christianity?
I'm a Christian. I don't go around thumping the Bible, and I don't go around shoving Christianity down the throats of other people. I believe in treat others as you want to be treated yourself. Treat me badly, and you'll get it back tenfold. Don't rip other people. And look, if someone's a Sikh or a Hindu, I respect their right to have that belief, and
I love Sikh.
I'd love to know more about those beliefs, but I certainly, at any stage, try to ram my or my outlook on Christianity down the throats of others. It's not about the right everywhere, and not about all the paraphernalia that you get around on, and at times you go and sit up in the front row at church, or if you even go to church or don't go to church. It's how you live your life. It's how you treat others, and how you look, we don't always treat others the right way, but hopefully we learn from it. So it's about how you perform in public, not about how you shine up in the morning. If you can go, I don't go to weddings and funerals. So,
But I think as a Christian, it is our responsibility somewhat to be an example of true Christian faith. And so a lot of common sense has been lost. People believe that there are 72 genders. People believe that. People believe that there are 72 genders. People believe that you can be non-binary. People believe that you can be non-conforming. But that's not the case. Man and woman, X, Y, X, X.
No.
Huh?
With humans, there's only two. Nature dictates with you.
Obviously.
Nature dictates that there is only two genders.
Nature does as well. It's true. All right. No, that's fair.
Now, fish change their sex. When a barramundi gets to about 60, 70 centimetres, changes from a male to a female. But us two-legged critters, humans, no, there's male and female. And anything else, state of mind. And I'm not knocking people who want to change gender. If they're female, that's their personal choice. Go for their life. But don't impose.
Random.
I don't impose my beliefs on them, so I don't expect that they should impose their beliefs on me.
Which they're doing in education, in the judicial system. It's being imposed with drag queen story time. That's an imposition. That's what that is.
Yeah. That's just seeing it in our schools. We're seeing it in our all life where we've got people. This teaching children. We should be teaching our children how to write and understand history and understand science and maths. We should be teaching them how to think. Let them make up their own minds on what they want to be when they get down the track. Give them the skills the basic skills they need in life now. Teach them how to behave. Teach them how to treat other people with respect, and treat other people as they'd want to be treated themselves. Don't teach them how to think, or how they should dress, or what they should identify. You can go back years. I remember a kid when I was a kid that was a boy that used to run around playing dress ups and had dolls. That was his body were in two different places. And I'm not knocking him, and I'm not saying that there was anything wrong. It was it was, and none of us can change that. But we shouldn't be stereotyping, and we shouldn't be forcing these stereotypes down throats. Our children should be taught, as I said, the basics: how to behave, how to read, how to write, and how to think for themselves and make up their own minds.
The rest of them, yeah.
Just as come.
Why did Fraser?
Why did Andy have to move to America? I didn't know he had, and so I don't know why.
Okay, that's fine. Let me go down and find more questions. Otherwise, we've gone for an hour and 15 minutes. It's officially my first live stream back for 2020. I think it did very well, and you've been really good. Hang on.
I'd be interested if there's any more questions about the bushfires, and it's.
I'm looking. What's your opinion of the sell off of the land? That's not really relevant. All right, no, I don't see any more questions. I mean, I do see more questions, but I mean, I have other things to do as well.
I'll just say one quickly on the fires, if I can.
Oh, go, please go for it.
Just, yes, I do believe in Jesus Christ. That's part of being a Christian, I thought. Okay, now, on the bushfires, people need to stop getting sidetracked. Forget about ignition sources such as arsonists and lightning strikes. Forget about the variances in the weather and the climate. It is all about fuel loads. Keep the fuel loads down and you will keep the intensity of the fires down. People are saying, oh, well, we should restrict where urban development goes. Well, that's a bit hard to do. People are going to be able to, people can still live in the bush. I do. I don't, and I've had fires come at my property, and I knock them, as I said, I'm able to knock them down. Okay, not everyone has a track machine able to do it, but you know, it's common sense. We need politicians and the chairwarming bureaucrats out of the equation, and they need to start to talk to people like myself and the thousands of other bushies out there, the people who live this and do this on a daily basis, who get dirt and soot under our fingernails on a daily basis. Start talking to us and start listening to us, and stop listening to the scientists called Mickey Mouse and the United Nations who just want to enslave us with their socialistic rubbish. You know, start listening to the people in this country that live it on a daily and do it on a daily basis, that have been there. Start listening to us and stop playing popular politics. Yeah, Sandy, the SFF standing for election in all electorates in Queensland. No, we're not, unfortunately. We'd love to be, but until people step up and come forward and get involved and put their own people up and pick people out of a hat, we don't know them from a bar of soap. We want the local people and the local communities to come forward. And the best part about us is you get to run your show. We're not run from the top down. You get to have a say in our policies. You get to have a say in our the running of the show. You get to pick your candidates. But we're starting to run out of time. It's we're looking at 9 months down the track, 6 months out, 3 months out. Basically run out of time. So most people step up now. Don't complain when you don't have someone to vote for in your electorate.
This is my friend Dean. He used to be one of the vice presidents or the president. I don't really understand all the titles, but Dean McRae is a Liberal Democrat.
They're fire. As the name suggests, they're fairly liberal Democrats. I'm not concerned about the policies of the Liberal Democrats or anyone else on the right. Well, I'm only concerned about the policies of Shooters Fishers Queensland. The policies of Labor and the Greens stink. The policies of the LNP are pathetic. The others can please themselves. I don't agree with everything that's in the policies of the other parties, and that's not just firearms. But look, it'd be a pretty boring old world if we agreed with everything everyone else did. I support any party that wants to that's conservative and wants to and push common sense. So if they're pushing common sense ideas, then I'll support it. If they're not common sense ideas and they're not practical and workable, I won't support it. So
is it common sense to protest and do a march to the government and asking them to change climate change? Is that common sense, or is that stupid because one man can't change the weather or the
everyone's
climate?
entitled to their opinion. Everyone's entitled to protest.
Of course, I'm just asking if that particular protest makes any sense.
I do not support people doing that illegally, and I people hindering others. If you want to stand on the side of the road and wave a placard that says "I believe in Mickey Mouse," then fine, go for your life. I don't care. It doesn't worry me. But don't step out in the middle of the street and prevent me from going about my daily business and try and force your views down my throat, because you won't get a very good reception. These rat bags gluing themselves to railway lines and roads. Yeah, look, go for your lives. You're idiots. And, you know, and what's going to happen is one of them are going to get run over one of these days. And, of course, then they'll turn it around and play the victim card. You know, if you don't want to get run over, don't lay down in the middle of the road. You know, it's common sense. But, yeah, no, you don't have the right to impede hundreds of thousands of people. And you certainly don't have the right to take away police resources.
No.
By protesting when the police are strung out and trying to do their best in the middle of a major disaster, one of many of which we've had previously, but they're right in the middle down there in Victoria, and they're in the middle of a major disaster down there. Their resources are stretched to the limit, and you get these idiots going out, stretching their resources even further. You know, are these people Australians? Do they even come from the same planet? Are they totally out to destroy everything that this country's about? You've got people out there losing their homes and their lives, and you know, these fools, I say you fools, these fools protesting are out there making it worse. You're not making it better. You know, you've made it, you've created the situation with you, and now you're actually hindering the emergency services from doing their job. Doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. All right. Well, I think that we'll leave it there. According to what I see in the audience, you're a hit and they want you back. So hooray. I think you'll be back, and I'm assuming that with this interview, you may be doing a few more as well. I'm just assuming that people might want you based on your knowledge and experience. And thank you so much. Yeah, if you could, do you want to say anything to finish off?
No, thank you very much. It's good. There's so much misinformation getting around out there. It's basically impossible to get into the mainstream media. They only want sensation, and unfortunately, logic and facts are not sensational enough, and it doesn't sell their product. So, you know, it's shows like yourself, like yours, that help us get out there and get the facts out. You know, it comes from the horse's mouth. What do we know? We've only been doing it successfully for decades. So yeah, but where a lot of these other peoples that are claiming that they know all about it, have never actually been out and done it. So, but thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks to my moderators who tried to keep the chat in order, and God bless everyone, and God bless you, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah, well, looking forward to it.
No worries. Well, if you want to leave the studio, remember you go to the bottom right of the corner there.
You had to coach me through this.
Oh, good. No,
right.
you're fine. You've done well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Hang on a second. All right. I did want to show something, but I didn't want to waste his time. So I'm just going to go with share screen. Share screen. He was a good guest, right, guys? I reckon Tim and the young couples or someone should interview him too. All right, so I just wanted to show everyone this, which a friend of mine named Ken let me know about this, and so I wanted to just show it. Can I get in this? I can't get in it, but anyway, let's have a look. Hang on. I have no idea what I'm doing. All right. Almost all of the past 10,000 years was warmer than present. I took a photo from the screen, so I know that's not super helpful, but these are facts about climate change. Also, it was called global warming originally, then it was called climate change, now it's called the climate crisis. So they keep changing their labels. All right, now we're going to go down. Here we go. Claims that temperatures are warmer now than they have ever been are not true. Now, if you have a look at the 1930s, it's in fact, from what the man said, I'm not explaining it myself very well because I don't know. So 1936, 1934, and 1939 are the hottest years on record. So if the world, yeah, anyway, I'm not good at explaining it. I will put the link in the description, not in the description. I'll put it in the chat just before I turn this off. And the last one here. What the news media isn't telling you. Global warming ended in 1998. There has been no global warming in 15 years. Global warming from 1978 to 98 has been replaced by global cooling. The Antarctic ice sheet is growing, not melting. Sea level is rising 7 per century, not 20 feet. Snowfall is not below normal. 4 of the past 5 years have set snowfall records. CO2 emissions cannot cause global warming. And severe storms are not more frequent than normal. The oceans are not acid. Okay, so back to here. I thought that was interesting. What else was there? So that is from this website. That is from this person. So if anyone wants to look it up, the man who came up with this, the man who helped get these conclusions is a geologist. His name is Dr. Don Easterbrook. So this is the link to that for those who want the truth. So this is not even a left-right issue. I feel the need to state this is not a left-right issue. This is just about pure scientific facts. I'm going to paste that back into the chat. So my friend Ken sent that to me. Ken is extremely intelligent. Margot knows who Ken is. I appreciate the fact that he even thought of me to give me that, because I have been asking questions. I've wanted people to help me. I want to know whether I didn't stop the screen share. Oh, that's good. Well, then if I didn't stop the screen share, that means that I can quickly show you what this guy says.
Marine waters. That may or may not be true in terms of the state's marine waters. Certainly it's not.
Hang on. Not too far back. Where is it? There it is.
Up to you, I'm sure. And the reason is that there's so little of it. It is a trace gas. It has increased in its atmospheric content by only 0.001 of 1%. If you double nothing, you still get nothing. And I'll comment more about this later. Severe storms are not more frequent than normal. When we get a big snowstorm in the east, they say, oh, it's because of global warming. When we hear about a hurricane on the East Coast, they say it's because of global warming. It isn't. And I will show you data that shows that actually the extreme events, severe storms, are actually declining. They're not becoming more frequent.
That'll do, pig. That'll do. So yeah, I thought that was worth sharing. It adds to some interesting. It adds depth to the argument. There's a lot going on in the chats. What are you guys saying? Tom Tanuki. That's not the real Tom Tanuki. All right, I don't think anyone cares about what I put up, so I'm just going to go now. Yeah, I really appreciate everyone jumping on. I think we all need to, for those of us who are Christian and believe in prayer, we need to pray for Wilson Gavin's family, because they're dealing with something horrible right now, and I don't know what to do to help. I've never lost anyone to suicide, if that's what happened. I don't want to elaborate too much on that, but yeah, thanks guys. Oh, next week. Okay, so next week my guest my guest is a friend. And when I say friend, I don't mean someone like Diane, who's like a girlfriend that I go out with and, you know, have a night on the town. But I met him at an RV rally about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. And in fact, he's been in the background before. He helped me with one of my videos. The video was soaring house prices. So I don't know if that video is still up on YouTube because I sort of split. I sort of split my my content. If I feel like it's going to be too controversial for YouTube, I put it on BitChute. But either way, he was in the background of this particular interview. He helped me with all the research. For those people who know me well enough, I am not a maths person. I'm not a money person. So all of the research about the soaring house prices and how immigration correlates to the soaring house prices and how China is partly at fault, that was Kaj. Kaj Anderson helped me with that particular video. And he will be gracing us with his presence next week at 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday night regarding Sweden. He is Swedish. He's Australian, but he is Swedish. He returns to Sweden every year. And I just got in trouble for checking my phone. Sorry, Sandy. Yeah, so he's Swedish. And so our subject next week will be Sweden. I have been to Sweden. I have seen the multiculturalism in Sweden. I have not been in the Muslim barrio or whatever you call barrio. I don't know what that word is. Enclave. But there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of exaggeration out there. So yeah. So if anyone is interested in the topic of Sweden, I know it's not relevant, so that's why I started off this week with the bushfires. Next week will be Sweden, and the week after that we shall see. But I have a feeling I'm bringing back my guest, Jimothy, and we'll talk about angels and the Nephilim and the giants of the Bible, because that video was just disgraceful. Yeah, anyway, everyone, if you can as well, donate to the bushfires. Don't donate maybe to a charity if you don't trust them, but donate to someone directly. That's what I've done. I haven't necessarily donated specifically to an outright charity, but I have given money to someone who lost everything. And yeah, those direct donations I think are more meaningful. I might have as well in the next couple of weeks a person who has lost their home, and I think that's super important as well. Okay, I've spoken enough. Remember, on I think Saturday night is Maddie's live stream on his Maddie's Rose Live, and then Monday night is XYZ at 9 o'clock. Tuesday night is Tim Wilms something, and then Wednesday night is me. Yeah, I don't even think they don't promote me, but I'm just a nicer person. But anyway, guys, God bless, and remember, suicide is never the answer. Prayer and God and the right family and guidance and all of that. And yeah, all right. Oops, I'm gonna get rid of this. Wow, my Telegram is going off. All right, guys, love you all. And the left, I love you all too, despite how much you like to target me. I wish you all the best. The Bible says, love your enemies as you love yourself. Bye. Hey, Sandy, don't bother. Anyway, bye.